What's up, my people? If you are like me and you love to see a variety of different sports magazine covers, then this is the video for you. We're going to look at interesting sports magazine sales from September 2023. All right, so first one starting off is this was actually submitted to me by a viewer of my channel. This was submitted by Mike, and I just want to go ahead and say I've had quite a few people reach out to me and share sales with me for my magazine moguls video, my highest sales of each month. But this is the first time I've had someone submit to me for the interesting sales video, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, Mike, for sending this to me. And I just want to open this up. Let's send out an open invitation. If anyone ever has any magazine sale that they are involved in, either as the buyer or the seller, and you want it to be included in one of my videos, go ahead and shoot me a message. You can find sports magazines in history on Instagram. Shoot me a message on Instagram, or also my email is listed in the description of this video. So yeah, I'd be happy to start sharing some more sales that are specifically shared to me by other viewers. But let's continue on. So this very first one that was sold by Mike was a 1991 Legends magazine, and we've got Michael Jordan. Look at this, graded at a beautiful CGC 9.8, sold for $325 on eBay. Next up, we've got two magazines from 2013, and you recognize that guy. That's Shohei Ohtani. That was Shohei Ohtani 10 years ago, obviously quite a bit before he came over to the United States. We've got Fighters magazine. We also have Baseball Weekly magazine, so essentially just two really early Shohei Ohtani magazine covers sold together for $160 on eBay. Here we got a classic Tiger Woods pumping the fist after a victory at the Masters. This is from 2005. It's a CGC 9.4 copy, sold for $225 on eBay. Gotta love any Mickey Mantle. This is his first appearance, I'm pretty sure, on the cover of Sport magazine from 1953. It precedes his first Sports Illustrated appearance by 3 years, and it was a raw copy that sold for $59.95. Check out this Bo Jackson cover. Pretty cool cover. You got Bo arm wrestling himself in his Oakland Raiders uniform, as well as his Chicago White Sox uniform. It's been autographed by Bo Jackson, Sports Illustrated for kids, and the autograph was authenticated by Beckett, sold for $139.99. Oh yeah, beautiful one right here. We've got the Hulkster, Hulk Hogan. This is his first and only Sports Illustrated cover from 1985. This CGC 6.0 copy sold for $280. If you talk Sports Illustrated, you got to talk swimsuit edition. And man, this is my favorite swimsuit cover. Christy Brinkley, one of the most well-known swimsuit models ever. And this is a CGC 6.0 copy from 1979, sold for $150 on eBay. Next up, another sport magazine cover from 1952 this time. It's Stan the Man, been autographed, beautiful signature with the blue Sharpie, authenticated by PSA, and it sold raw for $93.74. Here we got one of my favorite covers, and in all transparency, this was one that I sold. So this was Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer, and it's the first cover for both. This one's actually ridiculously hard to find. I believe it's only been graded 4 or 5 times, and this is a 6.5 copy, sold for $275 on eBay. Next up, we got Mike Trout, 2012 Sports Illustrated. This is his first cover. It's a CGC 8.0, and it sold for $180 on eBay. Next up, check out this 1982 ACC handbook. That's the Atlantic Coast Conference. You got Ralph Sampson, who is a basketball Hall of Famer. Phenomenal college career. Also had a pretty strong start to his NBA career. I think it was cut a little bit short due to some continual injuries. But the real interesting about this cover is not the guy challenging Ralph Sampson's shot, but the other North Carolina defender there to his left is Michael Jordan. That would have been in Michael's freshman season, if I am not mistaken. Pretty cool that you got a really young MJ sneaking on the cover of this 1982 ACC handbook. And this CGC 7.5 copy sold for $299.95. Next up, we've got Golf World magazine from 1994. This is pretty cool. I don't think I had seen this one before. It's Tiger Woods. Tiger time. And look at that. He's already doing his fist pump. This was before he had even gone pro. Woods makes history at US Amateur. Really interesting. Now, I don't know the specifics of a subscription versus a newsstand edition of Golf World magazine. You can see there is that little white area that says second class news, deliver immediately. And then it says deliver to, but it's blank. So I don't know if this is the equivalent of a blank box subscription with Sports Illustrated. It doesn't really look like CGC labeled it as a subscription copy. So, I mean, in my eyes, this is super cool. And it's a CGC 8.5 sold for $350 on eBay. Next up, Pro Football Magazine from 1964. We got the legendary Jim Brown, beautiful cover shot. It's a CGC 8.5. That's a strong grade for 1964, and it sold for just south of $200. Here we got Tom Brady, his first Sports Illustrated cover. Really tough issue to find for how modern it is and for how big of an athlete Tom Brady is. It's from 2002. This is a CGC 8.5 copy that sold for $395. And speaking of, if you're looking to pick up a raw copy, they don't come up very often, but here was one that sold last month raw, and it went in auction with 45 bids, with the final price being $192.50. Here we got Slam Magazine, issue number 1 with Larry Johnson, Grandmama, the premiere issue from 1994. I love Slam Magazine. I'm a sucker for Slam Magazine. And obviously, this is notable because it's the very first issue, sold raw for $149 on eBay. Next up, really cool cover with 3 absolute legends, Joe Montana, Magic Johnson, and Wayne Gretzky. It says they dominated the 80s. This was from 1989, and this is a CGC 9.2 copy that sold for $250 on eBay. Next up, we got some more early MJ going back to his Tar Heel days. This is Sporting News from 1983. Really interesting because Sporting News, the majority of their publications are oversized and are too large to be graded by CGC based on their current grading dimensions, but they did put out some standard size magazines that can be graded by CGC, and this is obviously one of them. This is an 8.0 copy. You've also got Hakeem Olajuwon with his still in college with the Houston Cougars. And then you've also got professional Moses Malone there with the 76ers. But this 8.0 copy sold for $400 on eBay. You remember the ESPN, the magazine body issue? Well, here's an instance right here. This is from 2009, and it's Serena Williams, and this raw copy sold for $80 on eBay. Here's a Michael Jordan issue that you don't see a ton. It was a commemorative issue with Sports Illustrated from 2009. It's got that legendary shot that Walter Hughes took of MJ back in the 80s. And this was to commemorate and celebrate his Hall of Fame career. I believe this was whenever he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. This 9.6 copy sold for $300. Next up, Sports Illustrated China. I think that the SI Chinas look so cool. This is from 2013. It is Kobe Bryant. It's the last Alpha Dog. This exact same cover was used on a US version of the weekly magazine as well. And this 6.5 copy sold for $83 on eBay. Next up, 1981, Sports Illustrated, Isaiah Thomas. This is the first cover for Isaiah Thomas. Really interesting and somewhat debatable on what makes this issue more collectible. Is it the fact that this is Isaiah Thomas, a Hall of Famer in his own right, a legendary player, probably a top 50, 40, maybe even top 30 player of all time. It's his first cover, or is this issue more collectible because on the interior of this magazine, it's the first time that Michael Jordan appeared in Sports Illustrated. He appeared, I believe, with like the high school All-American team. And you see a lot of people recently actually ripping out that page of Michael Jordan from the interior and slabbing just that page and selling just that page. So yeah, up for debate, whatever you think. But this particular person decided to slab the entire magazine. I love it. Beautiful. Graded at a 7.0 and sold for just south of $400. Next up, Deion Sanders. He's been in the news lately. This is from 1989. It is his first Sports Illustrated cover, Prime Time Live. This is when he played for the Atlanta Falcons, and it's a 7.0 copy that sold for $115. Next up, one of the most iconic issues in the history of Sports Illustrated. This is from 1974. This is whenever Hank Aaron became the home run king, passing up Babe Ruth. And it's a CGC 8.0 copy that sold for $300 on eBay. Here's a cool one. This is 1988 Wrestling Spotlight Magazine. If you got Macho Man Randy Savage. This is the premiere issue. I've never heard of this magazine. I don't know how long it lasted. But yeah, pretty cool to have Macho Man Randy Savage there with the championship belt over his shoulder. It's a CGC 7.5 and it sold for $75. Next up, super collectible issue, Steph Curry. It's his very first cover from 2013. This was also a variant cover, and this CGC 9.4 copy sold for $332.02. Here we got Revis Island, Darrelle Revis, a very, very talented and successful cornerback in the NFL with the New York Jets. And it's a CGC 9.8 that sold for $119. This cover is very cool because it is making a play on Broadway Joe Namath's very first cover, which was, I believe, from 1965. He used this exact same background of Broadway, but of course it had Joe Namath, and they recreated it here, 50 years later with Darrelle Revis on the cover. Next up, 1989, Sports Illustrated for Kids. Sports Illustrated for Kids has some pretty cool covers. They're collected much more for their sports cards that are on the inside, but I can't help but wonder if at some point some of their covers will gain in popularity and collectability. This is Tony Gwynn. This has been autographed by Tony Gwynn. Of course, he passed away at a pretty young age due to cancer, and he's also got an inscription there, Hall of Fame 07, slabbed by Beckett. Of course, they don't grade magazines, but they will slab and authenticate those that have been autographed. And this went for $153.50 on eBay. Next up, one of the most iconic issues, one of the most collectible issues, I should say. It's Mickey Mantle's first Sports Illustrated cover from 1956. This is a subscription copy. Got the label still on. It's a CGC 6.0, and it sold for $599.95 on eBay. And here we got the exact same issue. Now, this one's a newsstand copy. It's a 3.5, and it sold for $496. So, very interesting comparison here. Once again, 6.0, higher grade, but the label affixed makes it a subscription, went for about $600. Then you got a newsstand, lower grade, 3.5, went for around $500. So shows you a little bit of the difference in collectability between the subscriptions and the newsstands. Now this newsstand in particular, not the most, not the best face value, or doesn't present the most cleanly because it seems to be a huge water stain there on the right. But anyway, still interesting to compare those two different sales. Next up, 2009 Sports Illustrated. This is Aaron Rodgers, and this is the first cover for Aaron Rodgers. This was also a variant, I believe 4 covers, maybe even been 6, but there were multiple covers released this week, making it more rare. And this is a CGC 9.6 copy, I believe the highest graded out there. I'm not sure that there's a 9.8 of Aaron Rodgers' first cover, and this went for $325 on eBay. Next up, Mariano Rivera. This makes me want to listen to Enter Sandman. 2009 Sports Illustrated, not his first cover, but as a CGC 9.6. And listen, I didn't say that we're only talking high sales here. I said interesting sales. This is interesting. This sold for $8, $8 on Golden Auctions. Couple things to say here. Number one, no, it's not his first cover, but 9.6, very high grade of a Hall of Famer, probably the best relief pitcher in MLB history. Only $8. My words of wisdom would be Golden Auction's not the best place to sell a graded sports magazine right now. Not a lot of eyes on the graded magazines in Golden Auctions. Take my advice, use Heritage or use eBay. I feel pretty confident that this would have sold for more than $8 on either one of those venues. Next up, another Sports Illustrated for kids. I'm standing by my statement that they got some really cool covers. Look at this cover of Clyde the Glide Drexler. Very cool. 1993, autographed by Clyde Drexler, authenticated and slabbed by Beckett, sold for $250 on eBay. Next up, beautiful cover. Absolutely love this one. Super collectible. It's Sandy Koufax. You got him holding the ball, gripping the ball there with his famous left hand. It's a CGC 4.0 of his first cover, and it sold for $395 on eBay. Look out for Linsanity. This is from 2012, and this was Jeremy Lin's very first Sports Illustrated cover. This is the highest graded copy out there. There are no 9.8s as of now of the Linsanity first cover. You've also got Kobe Bryant in the background, and it's like I said, a 9.6, and it sold for $495 on eBay. Next up, Conor McGregor, excuse me. Dude had swag. This is from 2016. One of the most famous and popular UFC fighters of all time. It's his first and only cover on Sports Illustrated. It's a CGC 9.6, sold for $201.17. Next up, this is a pretty well-known, iconic, controversial magazine cover. This was Esquire magazine from 1968, The Passion of Muhammad Ali. A little bit disturbing, to be truthful, but like I said, it is a somewhat of a notorious cover. Of course, Muhammad Ali was making lots of waves at that time, speaking out against the war in Vietnam and refusing to enlist, and had his heavyweight titles stripped, and he really was scrutinized a lot in the press at that time, and of course it's pretty wild how he eventually then in the 70s came back and recaptured the championship title and became one of the most beloved and popular athletes of all time. So this issue, Raw, which by the way is too large in terms of dimensions to be graded by CGC, it sold for $170.50. Next up, Kevin Garnett, KG. It's his very first Sports Illustrated cover from 1995. Ready or not, 3 weeks ago, Kevin Garnett went to his high school prom. Next week, he'll be a top pick in the NBA draft. He went straight to the NBA out of high school, and this was leading up to the NBA draft. Love the 90s look on this cover. It's a CGC 9.4, and it sold for $173.50. Next up, the man, the shot, Michael Jordan, his iconic game winner against the Utah Jazz in the 1998 NBA Finals. It's a CGC 9.4 copy, and it sold for $320. Here we got Greg Maddux from 1995. This is his first cover, the greatest pitcher you'll ever see. CGC 9.4, sold for $293. Got some more Sports Illustrated for kids. This is Bobby Witt Jr., young star for the Kansas City Royals. It's a CGC 9.6, and it sold for $249.99. Cool cover here. This is Slam Magazine from 2021, and this is Kobe Bryant. It's a CGC 9.0. This is a purple metal edition. This is an example of where Slam Magazine had some certain variant covers that they would only print off a limited number of, similar to what sports cards do. Only 248 copies of this purple metal edition were printed, and this CGC 9.0 copy sold for $181. Here we got Patrick Mahomes. This is his first Sports Illustrated cover from 2018. It's a CGC 9.2, sold for $174.65. Next up, the Sheriff. Peyton Manning, it says so long, Sheriff. This was a special retirement tribute issue. Got him in his Tennessee Vols jersey, and this has been autographed by Peyton Manning, authenticated by Fanatics, sold for $115 on eBay. Check out this Beckett golf magazine from 2002, and you got the Golden Bear, Jack Nicklaus. Beautiful autograph there, authenticated by PSA, sold for $128.50. Here we got a unique one that I haven't seen. This is from 1964, and Sandy Koufax. That's all I've got to say. I don't even know what actual publication this is. It just appears to be some sort of special magazine dedicated strictly to Sandy Koufax. But love the blue, love the up close images there of Sandy, and sold raw for $88 on eBay. Now, here's one I have never seen before, and this is really, really cool. ESPN Sports Guide from 1984. You got to realize ESPN was not very old in 1984, and also, had not become the ultra popular sports network that it would eventually become. But look at this. They got Michael Jordan on the cover, throwing it down in his North Carolina Tar Heels uniform. It says, this is from March 1984. North Carolina goes for the 1984 NCAA championship. Super cool. Once again, had never seen this before, and it sold raw for just south of $500. And here we go. Here's another one that I also had not seen. And this one's actually a little bit earlier. This is from January 84, ESPN Sports Guide. And this time you've got Michael just going up strong to the basket, once again with the North Carolina Tar Heels. And this one sold for just south of $400. Here we got another Kobe Bryant Slam. This actually Slam Presents Kicks. So Slam does have a version of their magazine called Slam Kicks, where they focus largely on basketball shoes, which of course is kind of its own hobby in itself, its own little niche. And this is another purple edition, serialed out of 248. This copy graded at a CGC 9.4, and it sold on eBay for $202.50. Here we got Inside Sports Magazine from 1989. Really cool cover image of Michael Jordan here from the Slam Dunk Contest. Also got Patrick Ewing, Dominique Wilkins, and Charles Barkley down there in the smaller insets. This graded at a 9.0, and it sold on eBay for $200. 1958 El Grafico magazine, and you got Pele, a really cool tight shot of Pele earlier in his career, and this one sold raw for $400 on eBay. Speaking of Pele, here's his first Sports Illustrated cover. Really, really tough one to find, and this is a CGC 4.0, sold for $399 on eBay. Here we got Pat Tillman, football player with the Arizona Cardinals, was well known for basically stepping away from his NFL career to go serve his country. Of course, right around the time of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and after September 11th. And so he is an absolute hero, lost his life in 2004. And this Sports Illustrated cover was really commemorating him. It's a CGC 9.6 copy, sold for $275 on eBay. Here we got WWE Magazine from 2009, and this is Triple H and Shawn Michaels, two very popular wrestlers, autographed by both, and it sold for $370 on eBay. And last but not least, here's another unique one I've never seen before. This is from 1988. It's a Sports Illustrated for Kids promo. So this was before the first Sports Illustrated for Kids issue had ever come out. This was a little insert that I believe was inside of a traditional Sports Illustrated magazine promoting the upcoming publication of Sports Illustrated for Kids. Once again, never seen this one before. Very, very cool with Michael Jordan on the cover. This seems to be a little bit of a steal as far as the buy, probably just because not many people were even aware of this, including me. Sold for $89.99. All right, people, that is it. Hope you enjoyed this one. And as always, I appreciate likes, comments, and subscribes. And until the next video, we'll see you next time.